Hi, my name is Benedict. This video is looking at my impressions of having tried one of the online mastering services. I've been aware of them, they've been around for years. I have looked at them because of course it's a thing that's happening in my domain. I've looked at them both as a composer, musician myself, it's like, is that a thing I'd want to do? And as somebody who mixes professionally, is that a thing I'd want to do? Is that a threat? And I have to say I'm interested in the results. I was working on a piece which is sort of loosely synthetic orchestral, and I thought let's throw this at that because this is my kind of sound. Mostly when I have had a look at the videos or the before and afters shown on one of these online mastering sites, the material they use is not my cup of tea. I don't think that how you master it actually has as much impact as people think, because we're not looking at subtle pieces of music in the first place. Now, this is a piece of music that is a bit more subtle, plus I know its subtleties seeing I made the thing myself. Not about whether it's a good piece of music, just that it served a purpose for this. So I just used a demo on eMastered. The only reason I chose eMastered was that they just happened to have put something in my Facebook stream at that point in time, so they got lucky or unlucky. I recorded it with a screen. So of course, yes, you can say this whole thing is bullshit because that's got some kind of MP3 thing on it, but you know what? I don't hold with that argument, simply because even though this mutes the literalness of it, a well-mastered piece of material should, in general sense, sound exactly the same on an MP3 as it does on a wave. Scream at me all you want, but remember, music used to be enjoyed on AM radio, which has a bandwidth of about this, and it sounded great. We went to FM radio, which has a bandwidth like this, and it sounded great. We loved it. It moved us. We went to CD, which has a bandwidth of this. We've gone to 2496, which has a bandwidth of this. The music hasn't changed. Well, we may be able to say it's actually gotten worse, but I don't think it's because of the bandwidth. Perhaps some people focusing on bandwidth rather than content, but anyway. So this is how this recording came to be, so just the background in that. What we've got is my original working mix, no master, so it's running at about -6 or something like that. I gave plenty of room as was requested, and that's where my mix naturally sits anyway when I'm working with it. I've got my own take on the master, and it's only fair to compare, and then I let eMastered do its thing. It gave me no real choices because this was a trial thing, but it spat out a result. So, original. And it largely rolls along like that until we get to the big. Oh, for any of you who are hell-bent on how did you record this, what did you use, the sample-based stuff is all from the orchestra, and is actually backed, almost all the instruments are backed by synthesizers. The only sound I didn't particularly like was actually the oboe section out of the orchestra. It sounds funny. I don't know what it is, but it just sounds funny, like there's something strange about that recording. In the end, and I ended up adding a lot more sections to this piece. In the end, I actually preferred the flute sound that I used to back it. I call it loosely a flute. That I actually made in Subtractor, in Reason. But it's not about synth spotting, Just if people ask, how'd you get there? They are decent quality samples in the first place, but that doesn't matter. It's about the piece. As you hear, it's subtle. Now, first thing I'm going to do is show you something that I discovered when we we'll just take my master and the eMastered version and listen to this. So eMastered have made an executive decision. I think they've made many executive decisions, and to some extent that will allow them to do. But they've whacked on a second of silence at the beginning of my piece. I didn't see anywhere where I could say, please do or don't do this thing. So there may be some rules about, oh, you normally add a second of silence. But having been a DJ in the past, I was a party DJ, so when you press play, you want my Sharona there and then. You don't want it in a second's time because you're toast by then. People are throwing shit at you. So I don't love that they made that executive decision to add a second's worth of silence to the beginning of my track. It does also mean that it's impossible to A-B, because even if I try and get rid of that, it doesn't seem to line up. I couldn't really, without putting a vast amount of time into it, that would still not be sample accurate, I couldn't get them to line up. So, not the end of the world, but not delighted. If I were looking to do an album where it was seamless, which I do, like Sleep Call was seamless, then this would be kinda close to useless to me, but not the end of the world. Matter of interest, if we take my original and my master, we'll go back where it's simple over here, there's most likely sample accurate with each other. They wouldn't zero if we did a phase swap because they're different volumes and the bits and pieces that I did to them, but they're the same. eMastered made a decision. And that, to a fair extent, is what you expect when you go to a mastering place. They are there to make decisions for you. They have some choices about, do you want more of this or more of that? But it's the top down that they make irrevocable decisions. That it's not the end of the world, but of course I don't super love that. I like making my own decisions. So let's go back again, just sample the original. Let's go back here. I think it's more telling. A thing that I notice is that, yes, eMastered is louder. Yes, it's more solid. But this material is not designed to sound solid. It's designed to be kind of intricate. So eMaster's approach to a neutral master, I think that's the words they use, sort of neutral, as in, you know, we're not throwing this against the wall, but we're not being easy on you. But a neutral master is something that's actually significantly changed the feel of the piece. So if we looked at this rise, there isn't really any feeling of rise. You just go along and then blam, the next bit comes in. There's no dynamic there. Yes, in theory it shows here, like you can see a difference in volumes, but when levels, but the feel is gone. To give you a sense of comparison, if we go back to, or go to my master here, that rise is more dynamic. Back again. It's just some people going, I get it, because eMastered and all of these things most likely set themselves up on the assumption that they're going to be handed EDM, rap, and maybe some sort of emo-y post-rock stuff. So they're looking to create that what people call vanilla sausage. It's fine if you're after that thing, but in terms of options, now maybe because I didn't have access to the options, maybe if I'd chosen the over easy option, then they would have left some more of what I'll call the air around what's going on here. But they didn't, and I get the feeling that because it's a sausage factory, it's just a bot. Put something in, bot goes, ooh, yeah, spits something out. It's presets. That there isn't that ability to say, I understand this material. I understand what this guy's trying to do. Now, to be very fair, I had somebody do a quick master on one of my tracks a couple of decades ago, and they were all very early EDM, house music, glitch focused. And they were putting together a compilation, and I ended up being in the compilation with my sort of space music. And the piece that I gave had a lot of subtlety in it. And when it came back, I barely recognized it. There were some bits and pieces of sounds, and it's like, I don't remember putting that sound in there. Simply because they'd mastered it to their mindset, not to my mindset, and more importantly, not to the mindset of the piece of the music. They'd taken the piece of music and just said, oh no, we're going to turn it into EDM because that's how you do this shit. So they would have felt they were doing the right thing. They would have felt, if anything, they were doing me a favour of making my music sound more better for their EDM mindset. Don't know, because the whole thing fell in a heap and I ended up with a DAT sitting in my box to this day. But be aware that with the e-mastering type things, and I'm not just saying these particular guys, but all of them, it's a preset. It's a sausage thing that you whack your music in, they preset it, and they go out the other side. They might have spinning dials that say they're analysing, and they may well be analysing, but it's formula results. So again, if we listen to my master at this point, hear how we've got lots of sense of air and space around this. Those little ding, 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 the glockenspiel. It's designed to give this sense of a big open stage. Same thing over here. Everything's just kind of gotten pushed down so that it doesn't really sound like it did in the first place, which is so you hear how my master has brought out what I was doing in the composition and therefore the mix. Their master has simply said, okay, that's how it's supposed to be done, and whacked it on. Let's go have a listen to somewhere in the middle. As I've said, I have some concerns with that sound, but it's the sound that's there. Again, my master, I think, has just brought out a little bit more of the sense of brightness, of liveliness. It's got space around it. It's got space around the instruments inside themselves. Unfortunately, when I listen to this, it's loud and it's kind of globbed together. There isn't the sense so much of there being this oboe just sitting slightly above. It's just, well, we're all in here. We're all here in the middle. Now, it's not to say that there aren't times when that's a wonderful thing to do with a mix. But with this mix, it was not a wonderful thing to do because it actually undid a lot of the composition. So there's a turnaround there, which, yes, you hear all the notes. But again, it's just kind of squashed together. My ultimate solution on that: there still, to me, feels like there's a lot of space in here. I'm not saying let's fill all the space up. eMastered said, okay, he's done this thing, let's jam as much of it as we can in, without overdoing it. They absolutely haven't done what you might say overdoing, like, you know, Metallica's Death Magnetic, you know, it's like plastered against all the walls in the room. No, there's dynamic in here. You've got your, if we look at our crest factors, that's where they should be. Again, just that busy section, but it's not meant to be that sort of EDM hip-hop busy. It's meant to have a sense of space and wonder, and you can't have wonder when everything's jammed in a box. You know, somebody, if it was a movie scene and it was somebody who was looking at a magical kingdom, Bridge to Terabithia type thing, then do we want that music to express wonder, which is lots of, you know, little sparkly detail, which is what this is doing? Or do we want it to seem like it was somebody stuck in a coffin? Which is what that brings back to me. And I know that's perhaps a black and white image, but music is supposed to help bring out subtle emotion. And we may feel that as more, oh, I feel excited, oh, I feel depressed. But there's a lot of subtlety in there that has to be there. My concern with what's happened with the online master is that they've taken no attention to the subtlety. It's a blob. And yet you see that my levels are effectively about the same as their levels. What the EQ is, I don't know, but I'm not going to say don't use those mastering services, because I guess they're cheap. But if you've got the capability of mixing to, let's say you've got the capability to mix to here, then you've definitely got the capability to master to here. Because in my mind, there's more subtlety in this, which is totally unmastered, than this, which has a mastered tag on it. Yes, it's louder, but if that was your only problem, just saying, oh, shit, man, that's not loud enough, man, then all you've got to do is put a limiter on it, turn it up until it's just saying, oh, yep, we've shaved the dB off here. If you feel like you want it to be a little bit brighter, then just, you know, at 6 or 8K, turn it up 2 dB. Problem solved. Don't go down to 60 or 100 hertz and then say, look, I'm going to add 8 dB down there, because it's just going to sound like shite, especially if you put it on a home theatre system, something with a sub or whatever. It's just going to... and then you're going to feel like you can't hear any of the clarity up top. Always go with a clear mix. So use them, but ask yourself, are you actually cutting off your nose to spite your face? If you've written a piece with a lot of subtlety in it, which I goddamn hope you have, then why remove the subtlety by putting it through a formulaic thing? Focus on enhancing that subtlety. And the reality is, by the time that you subscribe to these services and what have you, you're probably spending the money that you could have spent on actually getting somebody who's got a far better ability, and someone who can even say, hey, Benedict, here's what I was trying to achieve. Here's what this piece is about. Because eMastered didn't even give me a set of boxes at the beginning to say, these are the things, that the feelings that I want my piece to create. Obviously, because the bot's got no idea what those feelings are anyway. If I said magical, like Richard Tirabithia, they're just going to go, did you get the capture right? They got no idea. They got no way of knowing. Whereas if you're working with somebody who knows what they're doing, which means they work from story, then you can say, hey, Benedict, I've written this. I'm pleased with my mix. I just want you to bring it up to master level. Here's what the piece is about. Here's the feeling that I'm really trying to achieve. And I'm going to listen to it and I'm going to go, oh, shit, I think you totally missed that. Let's adjust the mix. So that we're going to master the right thing, rather than just mastering some shit that doesn't do the job it's intended to do. Or I'm going to go, yeah, I can really hear that. I buy that. If it's a good mix, which all it has to be is telling your story. If you're telling your story, then I know what you're trying to do. And when I go through and bring the levels up and bring the tone right, I'm not going to just be saying, well, the formula is that I do this and this. I'm going to be saying, okay, how can I make the most of the story that my client has told me that this is trying to tell? And what comes back, I bet you, is going to be like this, that you're going to find that the master sparkles in the way it's meant to sparkle, and that's what you're trying to achieve. So I'm not saying that the online master was shit. It wasn't. I was surprised actually how good in some ways it was. But that's very broad. I'm not paying any attention to this. Good. As soon as I start paying attention to and fit for purpose, and that's always a law, when you buy something it has to be fit for purpose. If I were selling you a car and it turned out that car had no steering wheel, big trouble, not fit for purpose. So yes, if you just want to sausagize what you're doing, fit for purpose. If you're looking for something a bit more subtle, I think perhaps you can see that there are better options out there and that they don't have to cost you what you think they do. But the big setup is doing a good mix, asking the person who's about to master that for you, is this a good mix based on my purpose? Like if I presented this as, Wonder, Bridge to Terabithia, Magical Kingdom kind of feel, but presented a mix that was like dead as a dodo, we can have that conversation. And that's an important thing that we should do. I do have people sometimes approach me who just go, you're going to do this. It doesn't work out well. I tend not to even work for them at all, simply because we're never going to get the result if we haven't got the right setup. But you want a great result, talk to the person. They want to talk to you because they want to get a great result too. When I do stuff, even if it's free stuff, like the online mix walkthroughs, I want to get a great result. A, because I always want to get a great result. That's just ingrained in me. I hate doing crap work. And B, because every result that I've gotten and show that's a good result, and people go, you know, that is good. That's my work. I'm proud of that. They're going to bring me work. So if your music is trying to bring you work, whether that's just people buying your tune, dancing to your tune, or trying to get, you know, a record contract or someone to put you in playlists on Spotify, or get, you know, paid gigs by landing yourself in adverts or something like that. People aren't looking for, oh, was this mastered with, you know, so many luffs and, you know, so much bass and so much treble and all this formula shit. They are looking for, does it move me? Does it make me go, oh? And your mastering is a final process in doing that. I hope this helps. By all means, use them, but understand they have some horrible limits which are surprisingly easy to overcome in other ways, better ways. Thank you.